invite all legislators into the chambers so that we can start the meeting. All right, we're going to start the meeting. I don't know where... All righty. Mike, can you call the roll, please? Wait, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. Legislator Galo, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Will
All
do.
rise.
Everyone, please rise. Join me by placing your hand over your heart and saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Mike, please call the roll.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Roll call. Deputy Presiding Officer Howard Copel. Alternate Presiding Officer Denise Ford. Here. Legislator Sela Bino. Here. Legislator Carrier Solage.
Here.
Thank you. Legislator Deborah Muley. Legislator C. William Galo III. Legislator Vincent Muscarella.
Here.
Thank you. Legislator Ellen Birnbaum. Legislator Delia Dirigi-Witten. Legislator James Kennedy. Legislator Thomas McKevitt. Legislator Laura Schaefer. Legislator John Ferretti. Legislator Arnold Drucker. Legislator Rosemarie Walker. Legislator Joshua Lafazan. Okay. Legislator Stephen Rhodes. Minority Leader Kavan Abrahams.
Here.
Thank you. And Presiding Officer Richard Nicolello.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome to the meeting of the Nassau County Legislature. We will get into the business of that's before us in a few moments, but first we have a number of items, including some points of personal privilege, the top cops for the month, as well as public comment. And for the first point of personal privilege, I'm going to call on Legislator Steve Rhodes.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I'm so grateful to my colleagues and that we pause in our deliberations here in the legislature so that we have the opportunity to recognize the amazing accomplishments of Rabbi Charles Klein. Rabbi Klein, if you'd like to step up. Rabbi Klein has been the rabbi at the Merrick Jewish Center for the last 43 years. Arriving there in June of 1978, and November 30th will be his last day leading that amazing congregation. He's taken the Merrick Jewish Center to incredible heights, but more importantly, he has worked so hard, not only as a leader in our community, but also a leader in the Jewish community as a whole and beyond. Being elected president of the New York Board of Rabbis, he has received the Rabbi of the Year award, one of only 10 rabbis to be so honored. He is, but incidentally, the New York Board of Rabbis is the oldest and largest interdenominational rabbinic group in the world. He has served as president of the Rabbinical Assembly of Nassau-Suffolk, co-chaired the Rabbinical Advisory Council of the United Jewish Appeal Federation of Jewish Philanthropies of New York, and was a member of the UJA Federation and served on that board with other leaders of the New York Jewish community. He is also a distinguished author, writing a wonderful book entitled How to Forgive When You Can't Forget, Healing Our Personal Relationships, which is something that I think we can all learn from. And he has also appeared numerous times as a guest on WABC Radio, and you'll see him often quoted in Newsday and the New York Times. For several years, he was one of the co-hosts of a weekly program on Telecare called Circle of Faith, where he represented the Jewish community in ongoing dialogue with spiritual leaders of other faith traditions. Rabbi Klein was one of the first, when I had the honor of being elected as a legislator, even before so, one of the first community leaders that I had the opportunity to meet. And you couldn't help but instantly be impressed with his sense of community, the deepness of his faith, but more importantly, the willingness to share that faith with others. And I don't mean just the Jewish faith. I mean the belief in an Almighty and the impact that that has on the larger community around us. He's someone who was devoutly interested in raising humanity, not just raising any individual group of people. And he has patiently answered, as a Catholic kid, he has patiently answered at a moment's notice those last-minute phone calls. Rabbi, it's Steve. What does the hut mean? But he has certainly been a mentor to me, but more importantly, he has been a trusted spiritual advisor to his congregation, but to so many, not just in our community, but across Long Island, across the state, and across the country. He's been a tremendous mentor. He's been an amazing friend. And I often say that, look, we tend to think that the job that we do as elected officials is important. But to me, there's no more important profession, perhaps, in the world than someone who dedicates themselves to the service of an Almighty. There's thousands of ways that the world can be divided between race, between religion, between culture, ethnic background, politics. I mean, you name it. The world seeks to divide us. But the one thing that we have in common most, other than our humanity, is our belief. The one thing that can bring us all together is the belief in a higher power, and the responsibility that we have in answer to that higher power to use the gifts and talents that we've been given to try and improve all of our worlds, make our community a little better for our having been here. And Rabbi Klein has lived that for 43 years as the spiritual leader of the Merrick Jewish Center, but has lived that his entire life. And you can see it in his life's work. You can see it in the passion and dedication with which he's gone about serving his community. And I can say that Rabbi Klein has advanced the cause of humanity as a humble servant of God and community. And for that reason, I wanted to ask that he come here today so that we, as representatives of the 1.4 million people of Nassau County, so that we could properly pay you the honor and respect that you deserve for what you have done for all of our residents in raising us all to be better versions of ourselves, and bringing about healing at difficult times. Last year, for example, during the BLM protests, it was Rabbi Klein that made sure that we brought the Merrick community together, and all of the religious leaders of all faiths together to make sure that we express our sensitivity to the issues that were going on and the need for dialogue. And that's just a small example of the work that he has done throughout his 43 years in rabbinical ministry, of bringing people together, of trying to get us to see the many things we have in common, not the things that divide us. And I know that Rabbi, you and your wonderful wife Betty, I know that you'll be enjoying an amazing retirement. But I also know that your service to community is not something that you do. It's part of who you are. And I know that we will see you as a fixture in Merrick for many, many years to come. And I know that we'll continue to enjoy your counsel and your amazing service to all the people of Nassau County, but really to the whole world. And I want to wish you, on behalf of the legislature, a lifetime of blessings, and thank you for all the service that you've done for all of us. Congratulations.
Do I get to offer rebuttal? I want to thank my friend, really good friend, cherished friend, Steve Rhodes. I have been honored and privileged to serve my congregation for 43 actually and a half years now. Every day seems to matter more as you get closer to the end. I'm sure everyone here understands that. But for 43 and a half years, this boy from Flushing has made Nassau County his home. And it has been a wonderful place to live, to serve my community, and to serve, I hope, the entire community, as Steve pointed out. It has been an honor to be able to be the rabbi of my congregation in Merrick. And I know that for me personally, it has been a great, great honor to come before you from time to time when significant issues have been discussed, issues of great concern, not just to me, but to the Jewish community, and I hope to others in Nassau County as well, and to offer my thoughts in the hope that with your wisdom that we would follow the right direction. And time after time you understood where I was coming from and where the Jewish community needed the legislature to be. I have to tell you that knowing that this is the meeting in which you honor top cops, I am humbled to be here. Because for whatever I have done, I stand really humble before the work of the police of this county or any county. And I applaud their bravery, their courage, their dedication, and commitment to the people of this county day in and day out. So for me, this is a wonderful honor. They are the ones who really earn it by putting their lives on the line day after day, and I applaud them. I thank you for this opportunity. Steve, we will remain close friends for years to come, of that I am assured. And I thank you for making this moment very possible for me as I conclude my service to the Merrick Jewish Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. And since you have been to the legislature before, you know how rare it is that we actually agree, that all of us agree on anything. But we've all want to present you this citation signed by all of us in recognition for your many years of service. It's just a piece of paper, but it comes with a tremendous amount of love and respect for everything that you've done. Thank you. And if I'd invite you to come up so we can all take a picture.
Now for our top cops presentation, I would like to invite up John Wighouse, President of the Nassau County DAI. Yes. Will you?
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank the whole full legislative body for recognizing our detectives today. We have Detectives James Malone, John Mitchell, and Lyndon John from the Homicide Squad. On September 10th, 2021, the victim, a 28-year-old Nassau County resident, cashed a check in the amount of $55,000. During this time, multiple subjects became aware that the victim was in possession of a large quantity of cash. These subjects did conspire, plan, and coordinate an armed robbery of this individual. The victim was ultimately lured to a residential street in South Freeport when two male subjects wearing masks and armed with handguns arrived and ordered the victim and his friend out of their vehicle. During the robbery, the victim attempted to defend himself and was shot by one of the subjects. The gunshot wound immediately incapacitated the victim, and while he laid on the ground helpless and dying, this violent robbery continued, and one male subject removed over $50,000 cash from the victim. The victim was taken by Nassau County ambulance to a local hospital where he was pronounced deceased due to his injuries. The subjects fled from the scene and left New York to avoid capture. The Nassau County Homicide Squad conducted an investigation which lasted approximately 7 weeks. At this time, 4 individuals have been arrested and charged with crimes including second-degree murder, first-degree robbery, criminal possession of a weapon, amongst other charges. This investigation was aided with the help of the Nassau County Asset Intel Unit, the Electronics Squad, the Nassau County District Attorney's Office, and the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Friday afternoon, 3:30. Shots ring out on a street corner in Freeport. You can imagine the amount of calls and the fear that goes through the community. Kids on their way home from school, people coming home from their day at work, just the actual community at large as it is. My phone was blowing off the hook. We needed to act quickly on this. This is what they do day in and day out. They work together with the Freeport Police Department. They work together with our crime scene, our intelligence, our fugitive squad. But they're detectives that do it every single day. They bring these cases home, and when they make the arrest, the case is not over. They still have to follow it through to the prosecution. So I want to again thank all of you for that support that you gave the DAI contract, that your support that you give the police and our detectives to make sure that we are out there serving the community of Nassau County with the best that we have. Thank you.
Thank you for your support and your recognition. We do appreciate it. It means more than you think. Every day we wake up, we're proud to be Nassau County detectives, and we're hopeful that the arrest we made in this case helped bring the family of our murdered victim, James Diamond, one step closer to justice.
Thank you. Legislator Rhodes and then Legislator Muley.
As one of the legislators that represents the village of Freeport as part of my district, I'm continuously in awe, and this is one of the reasons why I love Top Cops presentations, because these are things that, while you may see the story in Newsday, you don't see the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. Residents sometimes focus on traffic stops. They see the outward visible presence of the police department, the guys that are actually out there on patrol, and may not realize sometimes all the hard work that goes into bringing someone to justice. And you three are the shining example of that, using your talents and your tools to seek justice for the family of James Diamond. Someone whose life was traded for $50,000 by 4 hardened criminals who, were it not for your efforts, would continue to be roaming the streets, waiting for their next victim. And what goes into keeping our communities safe, sometimes escapes public attention. And one of the reasons that I love the Top Cops presentation so much is because we get the opportunity to see and we get the opportunity to share with our constituents the heroic work that is done by so many behind the scenes, like our detectives. And I want to congratulate you, Detective Malone, Detective Mitchell, and Detective John for your diligence, for your hard work in bringing these individuals to justice, and for giving some peace, hopefully, and some rest to James Diamond and to his family. We can't bring him back, but at least we can make sure that the individuals who are responsible for his passing are brought to justice. You've brought us closer to being able to do that. I want to thank you for what you and for what your fellow detectives do on a daily basis to keep us all safe. And we appreciate your efforts, not just in this case, but what you do on a daily basis for all of us. God bless you and congratulations.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Excuse me. Not only am I the legislator where this happened about a half mile from my house. So this feels personal to me. And it was very, very shocking. This is a nice residential area, and this kind of thing just doesn't happen. And so everyone was really on edge and in shock. And so I'm so happy to hear that we have brought these people into custody, and that through the hard work of the 3 detectives who are being honored. But I thought it was also good to hear from President Wakehouse and Commissioner Ryder all the other agencies that were brought together to make this happen. It really is a joint effort, and I think we all need to remember that it takes a lot to make something like this happen. But we are so appreciative of the work of the 3 detectives who are here. And on a personal note, I just want to thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd like to invite you up for a presentation on the dais. Oh, I'm sorry. First, Legislator Ford.
Before you go, I do. No, that's okay. Thank you very much, because this murder did send a shock wave of disbelief through the Long Beach community, and under this untimely death, we suffered. The city suffered, but not as much as his family, that lost somebody so young and so tragically. And with your hard work and your diligence and your determination, you're going to help bring some closure to this family, knowing that whoever did this will be behind bars. And I want to thank you very much, because it was very, very sad to lose someone so young. And so from the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak for many in my community, to say thank you very much. It really means a lot to all of us.
We have two more points of personal privilege before we get to the public comment portion. This one is by Legislator Muley and Legislator DeRigi Whitten.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. This is something that Delia and I have spoken about for quite some time that we've wanted to do, and we're so pleased to be able to present to all of you this very, very special family. So if we could invite Julianne and Tony to come up, please. Yes. This is the these are two members of the Jimenez family. Actually, I know Julianne's parents, Phil and Carolyn, who were there. Raise your hands. Yep. Very well from Freeport, and Julianne grew up there. But this is a story of love in the most pure sense possible. A year ago, I'm told it was November 30th, Julianne donated her kidney to her uncle, Tony. And I think you're going to hear from them about what a difference, what an impact this made on both of their lives in the best possible way. Julian, I'm hoping that you're going to tell the story as you told it to me, because I think you should be the one to tell it. But truly, this is an amazing gift, and this is the time of year for giving, so we want to highlight that, and we also want to highlight the importance of transplants in general, and what a wonderful gift it is for everybody. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Legislator DeRigi Whitten.
Thank you, Deborah. And again, I want the two of you to speak, but this is really a case of a Christmas or holiday miracle. That's all I can say. Tony Jimenez, as many of you know, is a Vietnam veteran. He was a first responder at 9/11. I served with him on the city council, and he and his wife and daughter, Nina, are basically family to me. Nina was at my home yesterday, and to say I love them is an understatement. They really, I always say Nina's like my niece because Tony's like my brother. And Tony has had type 1 diabetes, which is another cause that I've been, has affected my life. And when I was going door to door with this councilman, when I first met him, I was so impressed with him because, I knew it was 9/11 and everything else, and he was EMS and running around, and anyway, I got a call about my daughter, and I had to take it, and then we got back going door to door, and I said, oh, my daughter has type 1 diabetes, so whenever I get a call, it's a little bit of a problem, so I might have to bail out sometimes. And he looked at me and he said, well, I have had type 1 diabetes for over 30 years, and it was such an affirmation for me to know that someone who does so much and helps so many other people with EMS and everything in every other way you could possibly imagine had lived with this condition that my daughter was now facing, because she was newly diagnosed at that time, and I was a very concerned mother, to say the least. Not that I'm not now, but at that time especially, it was really one of the first people I met that I had no idea that he was dealing with that until that time. Fast forward, unfortunately, sometimes, with diabetes over a long period of time, you can run into some complications, including the kidney. It's one of the organs that this condition does attack. And so I knew Tony was starting to go on dialysis. I said, well, how bad can that be? Dialysis is bad. It took a lot of time out of his life, and he just didn't quite have that spark at that time. And he told me that he needed a kidney transplant. And I said, okay, well, we can probably do that. And then you realize how hard it is to find a match. And in fact, Tony was told he needs a live donor because we didn't have the time to wait for, I'm going to get upset, for a donor from a cadaver. So we started a Facebook page, and I think this might be a good segue to let Juliana say what happened from that point.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Deborah and Delia, and everyone for your time. The decision to donate a kidney to my Uncle Tony came very easy for me. Tony is a kind and amazing person who has helped countless people. He was a source of guidance and encouragement for me when I struggled with addiction in my early 20s, and he continues to be a quiet hero. When I heard about his need, I got into action quickly to find out if I could be a match. I did learn about it through Facebook, through the Facebook post, and actually reading it off of my father's Facebook page. I didn't know anything about organ donation before this. The transplant team at North Shore University Hospital thoroughly helped prepare me for the process. I also joined an online community of donors who shared their experiences of donating and gave support. Through this process, I learned that kidney transplant is a safe procedure. The extensive screening beforehand rules out anyone that may have future risks. Following the procedure, I had the typical soreness and pain, but got stronger each day and returned to work just 2 weeks later. My lifestyle has been normal, active, and full ever since. There's a tremendous need for living organ donors, as every 10 minutes another person in need is added to the national transplant wait list. While living donation may not be possible for everyone, we can continue spreading awareness for others to sign up as deceased donors. I'm grateful that I was able to impact my Uncle Tony's quality of life and help him enjoy more years here with us. Thank you for this honor.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us here, and particularly Delia for all the work you did on behalf of this exercise and everything else that you do. And Ms. Millet, it's been a pleasure meeting with you. I've met her here several times. She's very involved in Veterans Affairs, as I am. The whole issue of donating is kind of mind-boggling. In Nassau County, in New York State, the waiting list for a new kidney is between 6 and 8 years. So when the doctors first diagnosed me as in need of a kidney, they said, but you need a kidney, but we can't put you on the list because essentially you're going to be dead before 6 to 9 years. So he said the only thing you could do is find somebody, a living donor, which to me was, you know, how can I ask somebody for their kidney? But through the encouragement of Delia, I did just that. And through her publicity, I did that. And who steps forward? But right around the corner, my niece. She came and said, I'm interested, I'd like to do this. She started the procedure, going to the doctors, the transplant clinic, and found to be a match. And every step of the way, she's been, and I've given her many opportunities to say, listen, if you don't want to do this, please don't. I don't want you to feel you're taking any risks. Just, you know, I appreciate the thought, but back out anytime. Thankfully, she didn't. I'm doing fantastic now. It's coming up to a year, and about another week and a half, it'll be 1 year since the operation. And I'm doing fantastic. In the last couple of months, particularly, Delia saw me in action the other day when we had a march in the city of Glen Cove honoring Martin Luther King. And I was reluctant to start it because I didn't know if I would be able to finish it. But I finished it and felt great afterwards. When I came home, I just kept busy. I was able to just continue my life instead of shutting down. I was able to do things along the way, but there was like a 2-hour recovery period for everything. But now, a year later, that recovery period doesn't exist anymore. And I thank everybody for being here. I thank the entire legislature for having us here. And God bless you, and God bless America. And if you don't mind, I'd like to point out a couple of other people, if that's okay. My wife, Kathy, my daughter, Nina, and my brother Phil and his wife Carolyn, who've all been supportive. You know, my brother had some thoughts about his daughter giving up a kidney, but he followed her direction, and you know, and the job was done. So thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Presiding officer, in the good nature of all of these events today, would you be okay if we had the Jimenez family come up and we did a whole photo with the entire legislature? Thank you.
Legislator Walker.
Don't mind me just adding one thing. Tony, we're so glad to have you here, and I thank you so much for donating your kidney. I was actually a match to donate a kidney to my husband, who was not sick for very long, got a virus that attacked his heart and kidneys, and unfortunately he needed a heart and kidney transplant, and we never got that far. But it's just a reminder and a shout out to everybody that if there's any way that you can, be on a donor list, and, you know, perhaps one day you could help make sure that somebody stands in front of us or stands somewhere else whose life was saved because you were able to help them. So thank you very much.
final point of personal privilege will be by Minority Leader Abrahams and Legislator Bino.
I don't know if Legislator Bino wants to begin, or I can, either or. Sheila.
You could start, Kavan, and then I'll do the final with the citation.
That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you again. First, I want to wish everyone in the chamber, as well as all my colleagues, a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. Just on the note of of Councilman Jimenez and his niece, that's just a tremendous story of generosity and love, and I can't think of a better story that brings inspiration to us as we celebrate the Thanksgiving season, which is a spirit of giving and family. And I just once again just want to continue to thank them for being good, solid members of our community and residents of our community. And that was such a generosity gift. And I just wanted to note that again in terms of how that touched me in hearing that story. I am very grateful to celebrate the achievements of someone that has been a part of our county as well. Mr. Joe Williams, if he can come to the podium. I apologize about not being there in person today, but we all know Mr. Williams for many, many years. He has served the county for over 40 years. There are not too many people in that capacity that have served us that long. Not one of us here at the legislature have been there as long. The legislature has only been in existence since 1995 or 1996 when we actually became inaugurated. But that being said, he has served a time when he has been under many different county executives and many different county legislatures, and I've known him to serve in the capacity as a building manager two, to be politically correct in terms of the titles. I've known him to serve in that capacity for many, many years and has served us tremendously well. And I just want to personally congratulate him, and Legislator Bino, I'm sure, will say something as well as present the formal citation to him. I just want to personally congratulate him on a tremendous achievement of accomplishing 40 years in Nassau County and serving the people and the residents well. Please join me in celebrating a tremendous achievement, also a constituent of the 1st Legislative District, Mr. Joe Williams, for his 40 years of service. Thank you again, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So, Joe, it is indeed a pleasure to be able to celebrate your long-standing service to this county. We are all the beneficiaries of your service. You not only keep this building aesthetically beautiful and make it a complete honor to be able to give tours, you kept us safe during a very difficult time during COVID. You made sure these buildings were clean. You made the modifications here in our chambers. And as we look to move through COVID and recover, you took the time to make sure that this place got a new facelift. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. I also get the honor to talk a little bit about Joe, how I've come to know him outside of this building and his service to this county. If you're ever looking to hear some good music, some good gospel music, go by South Hempstead Baptist Church, where Joe is a musician. And he serves that church and that congregation and that community from his heart. When I walked in there and saw him there for the first time, I was shocked. But each time I go back and visit, I am very much led in the spirit by Joe's musical talents. And so, Joe, you are really just a breath of fresh air. When we ask for something, if we need something, it gets done right, and it gets done timely. So, Joe, thank you for the 40 years of service. I won't say we look forward to 40 more. I hope you get out of here before that. But thank you for all that you do for us. And I love that you came in your county colors. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to say I just want to give God praise and thank God for longevity. Excuse me. Thank God for keeping me and my family. Thank God for my wife that's here with me today. I thank you, Legislator Kevon Abrahams, Legislator Minor, Legislator Nicole, to each and every legislator here. Thank you for allowing me to serve this county and to help maintain. I'd like to shout out because my team, I'm nothing without my team. I'd like to also give honor to the Public Works crew. Facilities management is the hardest working team you have here. To the legislators, I want you to know that. Everything you look around here, facilities management, they're a top-notch bunch of guys, and I'm happy to have worked with them for these over 40 years. And I just thank each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Joe, could you join us here in the well? We'll take a picture with you. Thank you. And please bring your wife. She served right along with you.
All right, let's move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. I'd like to invite Merrill Fisher up as our first speaker.
Good afternoon. I'm here to speak about New York State's inhumane wrongful death statute. So today I'm going to read the bill that's been in Albany since 1994. This is what the government is not doing. The title of the bill is an act to amend the Estates, Powers, and Trusts law in relation to payment and distribution of damages in wrongful death actions. Purpose of bill. This bill would permit the families of wrongful death victims to recover compensation for their emotional anguish. Summary of provisions. The bill amends the Estates, Powers, and Trusts Law, Section 54.3, the Wrongful Death Statute, to permit recovery of damages for emotional loss when a tortfeasor, a wrongdoer, is found liable for causing a death. Current law allows recovery of pecuniary, financial loss only, thus making it impossible for spouses, children, parents, and siblings to receive any compensation for their non-economic loss. Justification. Families who suffer the loss of a loved one must endure a second blow when they discover the civil justice system is unable to compensate them for their emotional loss. A wrongful death statute that is over 160 years old and sadly out of step with our sister states prohibits the grief-stricken family from recovering damages for their emotional suffering from the wrongdoer. The current law, which awards compensation for pecuniary, financial loss only, impacts most harshly on children, seniors, women, and minorities who often have no income or significantly less income and are traditionally undervalued in our society. For many years, the courts have struggled to overcome the current law's narrow and inhumane language, which measures the worth of loved family members solely by their value as wage earners. The law, in essence, says that the attributes of our family members that we most value, emotional support, love, companionship, advice, and guidance, count for nothing. At least 41 other states compensate family members for emotional loss. This bill will not only better address and more fully right the wrong to the family of the deceased, it will also deter the negligent, reckless, sometimes criminal behavior that leads to needless deaths. It is ironic and contrary to public policy that currently a wrongdoer may take advantage of the law that makes it cheaper to kill someone than to seriously injure them. This bill would correct this harsh anomaly of the current wrongful death law. So my family experienced two. My dad in the year 2000, I had no idea about this until I watched my dad being abused and killed and assaulted in Plainview Hospital. And after his death, I started doing the research, and that's when I discovered the bill that's been sitting up in Albany. So there's really no excuse for this bill not to change, and every family will be affected by this. If you have children, if you have parents, seniors, the target population is children. Their lives are considered worthless because they don't contribute to the family income. Seniors are past the point of their earning potential. So my dad, we only have 9 days of his pain and suffering before he died. That's not enough pain and suffering for a lawyer to take the case. And disabled, Social Security does not count as income. So now I've had two family members. I've had problems with Northwell Health, North Shore University Hospital. I can't find one government agency that does anything. And this has now consumed my life for over 20 years. This bill needs to be grandfathered into law back to 1994 when they should have done it. And I hope this comes to a head soon because we have an inhumane law. Inhumane law equals inhumane treatment. And I can move on to Legislator Drucker. I sent you an email today. My brother was not an organ donor. He was special needs. He was vaccine damaged. I was his legal guardian. Why does he have an organ donor confirmation number that's not registered with New York State? And again, speaking of organ donation, these are big ticket items. The heart goes for between $130,000 and $160,000. Liver, $98,000 to $130,000. The list goes on and on. People are being abused and killed. It's wonderful when people come in with success stories. I applaud that. We have to look at the underbelly, and we have to look at the criminal activity, and we have to look at the government agencies that are not serving the people. I put in complaints with every government agency, and I can't find one single government agency that does anything. My time is up. Thank you for listening. Please help me to get this bill grandfathered into law for all of your families.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pulitzer, with the numbers of vaccine, with the numbers of positive tests going up, I'd like to have a system in place where somebody will clean the microphone on a regular basis.
We have taken precautions on that, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Michael Marvin, please.
Good afternoon. I'm here to talk today very briefly about a bid that is closed but has not yet been awarded yet. Bid number 97538-10071-162 for the lease of golf cars for the Bay Park golf course as well as Eisenhower golf courses. It consists of 240 golf cars that will be awarded to the lowest bidder. The bid reads for a 1-year contract with possible 4 years added on. When I bid for this, I asked for an amendment to submit pricing based on an industry standard 5-year lease. The amendment response was that your clauses are standard, but that I could submit a pricing and take into exception to the clause, which I did. The pricing I submitted would save taxpayers $54,395 each year and $271,975 over the course of the standard 5-year lease. I was told by the purchasing department that they cannot guarantee a 5-year deal. I asked why, to which got no response. It is wasteful spending of the taxpayers' dollars when the awarded bidder we just get extended to a 5-year lease anyway, as has been done in the previous contracts. The contract is supposed to be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, which I am under, again, typical industry standards. I just ask that you please review this bid and waive the wasteful 1-year clause that is there to do the responsible thing and save your taxpayers nearly $55,000 a year. Thank you so much.
Has this bid been awarded?
Has not yet, but they reached out to me to say that they're sticking to a 1-year deal. This is why I'm down here. Just to please ask for you to just review that, make sure it makes the best sense for all taxpayers.
All right, we haven't gotten that. Obviously, if the bid hasn't been awarded, then we would not have it before this body yet. But when it is, we can certainly take up your issues with it, and we'll take a good look at it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Kevin McKenna?
Good afternoon, legislative body. My name is Kevin McKenna. I am a Nassau County resident and an advocate for honest government, and I thank you for your attention to this matter. I just gave you a copy of my speech for you individually as well for the record. In the fourth quarter of 2020, Nassau County did not solicit bid proposals and simply awarded Motorola a no-bid $122 million contract. For context, in 2014, the FBI was forced to cancel a $500 million no-bid contract it awarded to Motorola after protests from other vendors were made public. No-bid contracts for $25,000 or more are not allowed in Nassau County. County Executive Laura Curran, the Nassau County Legislature, and NIFR are supposed to ensure that bid proposals were made to qualified vendors, and Motorola had submitted the lowest bid before awarding Motorola a $122 million contract. Can the legislators who approved awarding this no-bid $122 million contract to Motorola, could you please raise your hands? So it was unanimous. Jack Malloy, Motorola's Executive Vice President of Worldwide Sales, mentioned this $122 million no-bid contract during an interview in February 2021. Jack Malloy said, "It's really exciting. Just in North America, we announced Nassau County in New York $122 million, a big deal on Long Island." How has Motorola gotten its way with so many different government entities across the nation, including Nassau County? It's simple. Motorola pads its corporate board with former law enforcement officials and government officials, and Motorola uses its foundations to donate tens of millions of dollars to nonprofits formed by police and firefighters. For example, after Los Angeles Police Commissioner William Bratton retired in 2009, Motorola added him to its corporate board, and not coincidentally in 2010, Los Angeles awarded Motorola a $700 million contract. I have 3 questions for you all in the legislature. Does any legislator know if any retired member of the Nassau County Police Department or any former Nassau County public official was sitting on Motorola's corporate board when it awarded a $122 million no-bid contract last year under County Executive Laura Curran's watch and Commissioner Patrick Ryder's watch? Does any legislator know if Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder has been promised a spot on Motorola's corporate board when either he retires or gets terminated after January 1st? Does any legislator know if Motorola has ever donated money to the Nassau County Police Foundation? Can the legislator provide me, Mr. Nicolello, as the presiding officer, can I get your commitment that you will provide an answer to these questions in writing? I can't hear you.
Is your remarks over? Are your remarks
Oh, no,
over?
actually, I have 44 seconds left.
All right, then you can fill those
so-
44 seconds.
So in my 44 or now 37 seconds left, I'd like to ask legislator Stephen Rhodes if you've had a chance to follow up or get a response from tax assessor Robin Laveman. You had asked her a very, very good question when she sat over here in the hot seat, and she didn't know the answer, plus she gave you a ridiculous answer, and I'm wondering if you've had a chance to follow up, and can you share the answer to your question? Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you. Just to the members of the public, this is not a question and answer session. Really, you have an opportunity to make a presentation, to make remarks, and we're obviously here. We'll sit and listen the entire time period that we've allocated. So Terry Winston is the next speaker.
I'm a resident of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead. The Village of Hempstead is in dire need of road repair. Franklin Avenue in Hempstead in particular. I would like to ask that you finish what you started in Garden City, whose road was repaired, and from what I could see, they didn't need it. If anyone needs road repair, it's Hempstead. I inquired about this road repair at a meeting in Hempstead, and the mayor told me that you wouldn't repair the road. License plate readers are being placed throughout the village of Hempstead, and the county is funding this project. I was just curious as to why you're funding this project when the village has more pressing financial issues that are going on. Are you going to answer? All right, so the county is entered into an agreement with the Village of Hempstead mayor so that the Hempstead Police Department and the Nassau County Police Department can partner up with respect to these license plate readers that they're going to strategically place throughout Hempstead. I don't know if any other neighborhoods are getting these license plate readers, but Hempstead, for some reason, is getting them. And the fee is, because Nassau County is footing the bill, is $357,876 that the county is going to give the village to install these cameras.
So, Presiding Officer?
Yes, let's set it by now.
Just for a point of clarity, for the record, the item that Ms. Winston is speaking to is regarding a CRP that's initiated out of my office along with...
I can't hear you.
The mic is on. I'm not sure why you can't hear me. I'm not going to take heckling from the crowd, so we need to stop that. So the item that Ms. Winston is speaking to, for a point of clarity to my colleagues and for the record, it's a CRP that was initiated out of Legislative Districts 1 and 2 at the behest of the Village of Hempstead.
Just so you understand for the record, on today's calendar, actually, there was an item that includes, among other things, license plate readers for the communities of Cedarhurst, Hewlett, Inwood, Lawrence, and Woodmere. And I do know that I come from North Hempstead, there are license plate readers in various communities. They are used by our law enforcement for various purposes. I won't get into the details, but they are a tool that they use in terms of identifying patterns and potentially robberies and other types of crimes. So they are in various communities throughout this county, and I think Legislator Bino and Legislator Abrahams obviously had teamed up to provide these for the community of Hempstead.
And also for the record, Ms. Winston, I'd like you to know that in my capital plan at the request of my office, there's $6 million slated for Franklin Avenue and Washington Avenue.
Excuse me, could you repeat that?
There's $6 million slated for road repairs in the capital plan at the request of my office.
Well, where are the funds coming from?
It's already passed. It's $6 million. It's already been approved by this legislature for road improvements for Franklin Avenue as well as Washington Avenue in the Village of Hempstead, along with $1 million for the African American Museum. I think it's $250,000 for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Pearl Jacobs.
Good afternoon. I'll wait till you stop speaking.
Mr. McKenna, I've told you before, please grab your seat. You can videotape from there if you like, but well, look, I'm the presiding officer, so I am in control of the chambers. It is a question.
Mr. McKenna, take a picture of my secretary. You can do that.
Yeah, it's an answer period.
Okay? There you go. Segregated roadways, Nassau County. Again, I am certain that you all have read the article in Newsday last Thursday, $150 million suit and death of hoop star. And may the young man rest in peace, and I pray for his family. I am not here concerning any part of this lawsuit. I'm here to accentuate the subtitle, Alleges Roads in Black Majority Area Neglected.
Mr. McCann, would you please take your seat?
Let's redo that Newsday.
Ms. Jacobs, wait for a moment. Hold the clock. Mr. McCann, would you please take your seat? Yeah, we do like to have a little bit of control in the chambers.
Oh, can you start my clock, please?
Yeah, we did. We'll give you a little extra time. There's a little bit of decorum here is what's important to us, so that everyone has an opportunity to speak in the same way.
Okay.
You're good, Ms.
Okay.
Jacobs.
So I'm here again saying I am not here concerning any part of this lawsuit. I'm here to accentuate the subtitle, Alleges Roads and Black Majority Area Neglected. Let's redo that Newsday subtitle, Roads in Minority Communities Are Neglected. Newsday, if you would do some investigative reporting, you would confirm that this is indeed factual. I'm certain that during the discovery process of this lawsuit that a multitude of inequities will be identified at all levels of government here in Nassau County pertaining to a plethora of issues that intentionally marginalize minority communities. I cannot count the number of times over the past 3 years that I have been here to advocate for road repairs on Jerusalem Avenue after the sewer project and utility project tore up this roadway. I have asked in the past for legislation to be passed to make utilities pay for restoration of our roads post-projects. My suggestions fell on deaf ears. Why? Because I reside in Uniondale. When residents from other zip codes begin to complain, suddenly our government was eager to legislate for this law. I stated at the last meeting here that I will continue to state my mantra. Segregated roadways into Jerusalem Avenue is on par with Salisbury Park Drive, Merrick Avenue, Westbury Avenue, Roslyn Road, Franklin Avenue, etc., etc., etc. Perhaps one day Uniondale will need no external avocation and its roads will be resurfaced just because. Wouldn't that be nice? I'm also citing a statement from my legislator, Kevon Abrahams, who I guess he's on virtual today, from the Beacon, October 9th to November 4th. And it states here that both Abrahams and McCabe, the gentleman that was, I guess he was a spoiler to run against Leslie Abrahams, they both want infrastructure projects to get as much attention in this district as in wealthier, wider communities. Despite the pandemic delays, Abrahams and his colleagues have redone Glacken Park in Freeport, facilitated many road resurfacing projects along Jerusalem Avenue in Uniondale, and pushed to upgrade Henry Street Park in Roosevelt and back to Bay Park convenience. McCabe has advocated for infrastructure improvements in Uniondale, such as getting street lights on the dark section of Front Street, but Abrahams is the one who has built a solid record of infrastructure achievement. I disagree with that. It's not true, simply because, I'm restating, he has facilitated many road resurfacing projects along Jerusalem Avenue in Uniondale, and that is not true. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing up here and coming here meeting after meeting after meeting advocating for a road improvement on Jerusalem Avenue. This is simply not true. Can we get a road for Christmas? Okay, in the theme of Thanksgiving, legislator Abraham stated that, it's Thanksgiving, it's a time for giving. Maybe you can get us a road, because nothing's being done on Jerusalem Avenue other than the curves being fixed. Okay, I have seen Franklin Avenue out here torn up and reconstructed and resurfaced in a matter of 4 weeks. Our road still languishes, and that's because Nassau County has a segregated roadway system and definitely discrimination. Thank you.
Okay, your last slip is from Mita Meriday. Thank you, Kevin.
Take an extra shot. Do not touch power button. Okay, no worries. Yes, can we get a road for Christmas? I am also a proponent of the fact that communities of color definitely have been left out of the mix as it pertains to so many things: roads, houses, supports, resources, you name it. My word for today is incoming. I'm going to come up here saying incoming. Incoming has a number of meanings for different situations. Because many of you know, and this is kind of also a personal shout out to my legislator, even though I wrote to her privately and I didn't get a response. So here you go, Legislator Muley. Many of you do know that I do work tirelessly, not only as a 9/11 first responder myself with medical conditions, so I did salute those who had received that recognition. Then I'm back in the mix, beginning of COVID. Queens County, hot spot of COVID. Where am I? I'm assisting a nephrologist, one of the few African-American kidney doctors who monitors 2 dialysis units. So I've seen transplants. I've seen those that worked and those, sadly, that didn't come through in time. So my heart goes out to anyone who has special needs, who has an immune condition, as I do. But somebody still has to get out here and speak, as my sister in the struggle, Pearl Jacobs, says, truth to power. But we're speaking the truth, but those of you in power are not delivering on that message. Incoming. For those in the military who have military experience, that means definitely to duck, to get out of the way of active fire. It is a warning. It is a precursor of danger and something that's not going to be very positive for you to stick your neck out. What we're looking at now is an incoming administration. We can only hope. That's all we have at this point. The research is still showing that Nassau County is in the top 5. Usually we used to say we were in the top 2. We're still in the top 5. But our neighboring counties in New York and New Jersey, Rockland County, Essex County, Westchester County, that rounds it out. But if you go into those counties, you see something different that we don't have in Nassau County. There's more of a symmetry. There's more of a community. There's more of an activism and the results-oriented focus on where our tax dollars are going. And I would ask, because I only have 5 minutes, and I'm trying to be nice because I'm going into December, and one of the few things I'm asking for maybe is a road for Christmas. I would like courtesy, something that we do not get in the town of Hempstead. We don't get the elected officials. Many of you are watching me, but some of you are taking notes, looking at your phone. I don't know if you're ordering a turkey. I don't know what it is. But I only got 5 minutes. So I'm just asking for that pointed attention, that you focus, because most of you were reelected. Some of you are just getting in. You have some new spots that may be coming in here. Again, I got to be hopeful. But many of the same questions, concerns, and issues that have been brought before this body are still going unaddressed. There's a commercial for a pair of socks, bulbous socks. It says one of the most requested items in a homeless shelter are socks. No, one of the most requested items in a homeless shelter is a home, okay? It's a home. We have our residents, our seniors, our veterans who are losing their homes every day. I have sat in family court, in state court, right up the block with veterans who are about to lose their home because it was put up on public auction, okay? So I want to be hopeful that the new administration, that the new county executive, because many of you are not new, most of you are returning, will work together to better serve the interests of the people, not your individual parties, but serve the interests of the people. We are tired, okay? We are tired. I don't need Newsday to tell me the lethargic response for voters. We're broke. We're broken. We're feeling hopeless. We need the support of those of you that we put in these offices, that we bleed out to pay these taxes, to be responsible to our needs, Maybe hire less of your friends and relatives and hire the people who are qualified to do the job. Follow state guidelines and federal law when you get the money. I still ask to find if there's a contract that comes out of this county, whether it's to Motorola or whatever, what is the percentage? By New York State, 30% should be going to minority women, veteran businesses. I still don't see veteran-owned business listed for a contract or a business here. Incoming, let it be something that's positive, proactive, and productive. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to the business of the legislature at this point. There are a number of items that went through committees a couple of weeks ago, and it's been agreed by the majority and minority that no further debate or discussion is needed on these items at this time. So I'm going to call the consent calendar. Number 2, Ordinance 110. 3, Ordinance 111. 4, Ordinance 112. 5, Ordinance 113. 6, Ordinance 114. 7, Ordinance 115. 8, Ordinance 116. 9, Resolution 205. 10, Resolution 206. 11, Resolution 207. 12, Resolution 208. Any debate or discussion? Motion by Legislator Ford, seconded by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, carries unanimously. Somebody shut off the microphone at the dais, please. What? Oh. Karen, can you turn the mic off at the dais too? Thanks. Legislator Salaz say something? Is that what you were saying?
Aye. We took the vote. I took aye.
Okay. All right, so it would pass unanimously. Item 1, Ordinance 53. It's an ordinance making certain determinations pursuant to SECRA and authorizing the county executive to accept on behalf of the county and offer purchase from Dengo, Inc. of certain premises located in Uniondale, and authorizing the county executive to execute a contract of sale, deed, and all pertinent documents in connection therewith to consummate the sale. All right, and we need a motion by Legislator DeRidge-Whitten, seconded by Legislator Walker. Puts this before us. It needs to be amended. So we need an amendment in the nature of a substitution. This adds an amendment to the contract of sale, which requires the purchaser to do the following with respect to the Mitchell Field Veterans Community. 1, add signage for the entrance. 2, clean up existing dead tree limbs and branches, and over the next 10 years, those that block roadways. 3, donate 200 cubic yards of mulch per year for the next 10 years. And 4, provide free battery boosts to veterans and active military living in that area. The amendment is moved by Legislator Bino, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. Did you want to add anything before we proceed?
Kevin Walsh for the Office of Real Estate Services. Thank you for bringing this item. We presented this legislature a few months ago. It's a quick history. It's, again, some abandoned storage buildings up in Mitchell Field on the northwest side by the train station area. And we only had an RFP on one proposer. It's kind of a challenged property because it has water main and sewer infrastructure under it, so it's really not possible to build a foundation. So it's going to be a vehicle storage facility, and the purchaser, when he made his proposal, wanted to show he's going to be a good neighbor to his community, the veterans nearby, and he offered these things in the proposal, and I believe Legislator Drucker, Legislator Gaylor thought it would be good that we add this to the contract and memorialize it. So it'll be included as a covenant of the deed as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any debate or discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. So the item is now amended, so we have to vote on the item as amended. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Any debate or discussion on the item as amended? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Carries unanimously. We have a emergency item. Mr. Pulitzer, could you call the emergency?
Thank you. Clerk number 389-21, an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Office of Management and Budget.
Okay, you need a motion to establish the emergency, moved by Legislator Drucker, seconded by Legislator Kennedy. All in favor of establishing the emergency signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Carries unanimously. All right, the emergency is established. I'm going to call the item, and then maybe we'll have someone from the administration say a couple words about this. It's Clerk Item 389 of 2021, an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Office of Management and Budget. Moved by Legislator McKevitt, seconded by Legislator Millet. Now it's before us. Katie, is anyone here to speak on the emergency?
The item before you is, Christopher Nolan, Office of Management and Budget. The item before you is a supplemental appropriation. Previously, this body has appropriated $162.9 million of American Rescue Plan funds. This item seeks to appropriate an additional nearly $22.5 million. Some of it is for programs, additional funding for programs that have been previously appropriated, as well as some new items, including disinfecting for $4.5 million, which is a continuation of what the county has been doing, and then an additional new appropriation of $500,000 for the Vocational Education and Extension Board. If there are any questions, we have representatives to discuss some of the individual programs.
Okay. It's been represented to us that specifically with respect to the contractors, that they would not be able to proceed with their work under these, with respect to dispersing these grants, unless this funding was in place. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct. There's part of this is an appropriation of $5.5 million for additional consulting assistance, which would help with the administration of a number of different programs, particularly the HAP program, as well as a number of the other programs that this funding has been appropriated for.
So if we did not proceed with this, then without that funding being in place for those consultants, the programs, including the Boost NASA program, which is loans and grants to businesses, the various other programs that you mentioned, the HAP program would probably come to a halt until such time as the funding was put in place, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any debate or discussion on this item? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. According to the rules of the legislature, there's no public comment on items before the full legislature, with the exception of the hearing. So that was not a hearing. That's okay. All right, we're going to recess the meeting at this time and leave some flexibility. What's your question, Mita?
Sorry, I touched the button because the sticker wasn't here. Mita Maraday, Baldwin resident. This had to do with American Recovery Funding. That's federal funding that had specific guidelines that if you just had residents that had issues with road repair, which was one of the primary concerns with regard to that funding. Now you're hearing about a consultant, and you're spending more for disinfectant versus vocational services that would possibly keep people off the streets. And you're saying that residents who are here, who took time out, who are just hearing about this because it's an emergency issue, cannot speak on this issue and get some answers? Do we have to wait for Newsday to come up with something 6 months later? Yeah, well, they already left because of the photo ops. But you can't videotape from there. But they can be all over the place if there's something else.
Well, anyway,
so are you saying that we can't address this issue?
There is a workforce program that has not been advanced. Will be advanced after the first of the year. So that is coming, but that's not part of this.
So that's not part of this either.
That's not part of this specific funding approval.
Okay, and this funding for, again, American Rescue and Rebuild and Recovery, none of the funding for this particular federal subsidy is not being used to fix the road work, again, in communities of color that continue to be left out.
Cannot be used for that purpose, as you mentioned, and you're quite astute about. There are federal regulations that govern exactly what this money can be spent for and exactly what it can't be spent for, and it cannot be spent for your regular capital infrastructure. So we're obviously the county has to follow those guidelines to the T, otherwise there's a danger of clawback. But basically, what we can spend and what we can't spend this money on is directed by the federal government.
And where can someone, again, where can I get a copy of this since it's just an emergency measure that was brought to the forefront?
Our majority council will provide you the information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's coming from that side, too. All right, so this meeting is in recess. The next meeting is the Rules Committee.
You're always thinking about that virtual option. I always think after the fall.
Okay, Mike, could you please call the roll to the Rules Committee?
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Rules Committee roll call. Legislator Sheila Bino. Legislator Delia Dirigi-Witten. Ranking Member Kavan Abrahams.
Here.
Legislator Laura Schaefer. Legislator Stephen Rhodes. Vice Chairman Howard Copel. Chairman Richard Nicolello.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We have, first item is E-156 of 2021. It is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a personal services agreement between the county and the county on behalf of the Nassau County Comptroller and Plant and Moran PLLC. So it's moved by Legislator Dirigi-Witten, seconded by Minority Leader Abrahams. Sergio?
Good afternoon, everyone. Sergio Blanco from the Office of the Nassau County Comptroller, here to present this contract with Plant and Moran for ERP pre-implementation services. I'd be happy to discuss this contract or answer any questions any of the legislators may have.
Why don't you just tell us briefly what the contract's about?
So essentially what this contract is the first step to replace the county's financial system. What this vendor will do, among other things, will essentially review the county's infrastructure, the barriers for any financial system, the county's business processes, and analyze what is needed to go into an RFP for an actual implementation to replace the county's financial system. So this is sort of the first step to prepare the foundation before we actually implement a new financial system. It's an incredibly important contract for an incredibly important service.
Okay, thank you. Let's Dirigi-Witten.
Hi. As you know, this body has worked pretty hard to institute, different guidelines for procurement. Are you going to ensure that each of those steps are taken with this software?
Absolutely. Now, it's important to note that they do have some requirements in this in terms of helping us draft the RFP as well as any sort of procurement that goes after that. Though everything is required to be in compliance with the county's procurement policy at the time any steps are taken. And in addition, any final actions will have to be approved by the Office of the Controller. So this won't be done in a vacuum. The county will be making all of the decision points, and any subsequent RFP will be subject to the county's procurement compliance team. And of course, any resulting contract will not only be subject to the county procurement team, but also, of course, legislative action.
So the backup that we're going to be provided will be similar as to what it is today?
Correct. They'll follow every step. They're just basically being a consultant to help make sure that any RFP captures the county's needs, given the very important, particularly specialized skills necessary in this kind of procurement.
Okay. Any other questions? Legislator Shape.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. So this was, the RFP was issued in July of 2019, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, have they rendered any services to us since then, or no?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We did stop during the procurement process. Obviously, in light of the pandemic, we asked all of the proposals to resubmit best and final offers in the context of working under a pandemic circumstance. So that was involved during the procurement process, but no services have nor will be taken until all necessary approvals are met.
Okay. When do you anticipate that happening?
Hopefully, if this body deems it necessary to approve, we'll be submitting it for NIFA for review and consideration. Upon approval, we would like to get started right away, though it is going to be a lengthy pre-implementation process. So I imagine a lot of the decision points and deliverables under this contract will be in 2022. But we hope to get started this year if we're lucky enough.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Hearing none. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for your time, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too. Thanks. We have two motions to on table, so we'll vote on all these three together, unless they need to be broken out. But motion to on table for E-165 of 2021, which is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an agreement to a personal services agreement between the county on behalf of the clerk's office and PKF O'Connor Davies. Motion by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell, seconded by Legislator Rhodes. So there's a motion to untable that item. Do we know, is anyone here from the clerk's office? So that'll stay untabled, waiting from a representative from the clerk's office. Let's go to E-168 of 2021. We need a motion to untable this item also. It is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a personal services agreement between the county and HealthPlex, Inc. Motion to untable by Legislator DeRigi-Whitten, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. All in favor of untabling signify by saying aye. Aye. The item is untabled and before the legislature. The rules.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Allison Malamy, Chief Deputy Commissioner of Shared Services. Following last week's rules meeting, we asked HealthPlex, Inc. to respond to an examination report by the New York State Department of Financial Services for the 5-year period ending December 31st, 2017, concerning a subsidiary of HealthPlex, Inc. They provided a letter of attestation from HealthPlex, Inc.'s parent company, United Healthcare. United Healthcare affirms that all recommendations of the DFS report have been responded to and they are in full compliance. New York State Department of Financial Services approved the acquisition control of HealthPlex and subsidiaries by United Health Group on 12/31/20 without any concerns with the regulated entity, HealthPlex Insurance Company. Also, there is no consent order in effect for HealthPlex Insurance Company related to the report on examination of 12/31/17, meaning that no violations have been substantiated as requiring further corrective action and no penalties were recommended. Accordingly, both HealthPlex, Inc. and HealthPlex Insurance Company are in good standing with the New York State Department of Financial Services. Our Procurement Compliance Office also contacted the Department of Financial Services independently. The senior insurance examiner forwarded us the same examination report and directed us to follow up with the vendor. Regarding benefits, we worked to compare neighboring New York municipalities' dental plans to ours, but the various entities' plan costs, structure, and benefits are not readily available to make a meaningful comparison. Dental networks are not like medical networks, where providers take multiple insurance, so a change in our insurer would likely cause a disruption for employees who find their dentist is not in the new provider network. The Health Benefits Committee is committed to providing health benefits that provide the best value within our current bargaining structure. The dental insurance contract before you is with a vendor Nassau County has worked with for over 30 years, the last 10 at the constant rate of $46.75 per employee. This same rate is guaranteed for 5 years in the new HealthPlex contract, with benefit improvements, providing 4 cleanings per year, up from 2 at no additional cost.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. We also earned receipt of a letter from United Healthcare on behalf of HealthPlex dated November 18th, so we'll just give that to the clerk's office and make it part of the record. Anyone have any questions? Legislator Bino.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Hi, good day.
Hello.
Thank you for satisfying, or at least giving us something in writing as opposed to the verbal acknowledgement from HealthPlex. But I still have a question regarding the procurement review, or the review of the other bids that came in. And so it states that, all the unions played a role, and various other members of the administration. And so I asked if we could have what they reviewed so we could compare the bids to one another. And if we could then look at the pricing and some of the benefits that would be provided through the other carriers. I'm later told that that information is not available.
Katie Horse from the administration. Legislator Bino, my understanding is that you were looking for a cost comparison between what Nassau was getting, what Suffolk was getting, and other municipalities.
No, I asked for 2 things. I asked to look at a comparison from the responses from the bids that came in, and then I asked us to look at other municipalities.
So it was the other municipalities that purchased it, or Allison Shared Services wasn't going to be able to get done in time or in a meaningful way for you. I'll defer to Allison on the other responses.
Yes.
But for the comparison from municipality to municipality, that was the concern or issue.
Thank you, Katie.
I'm going to ask the Procurement Compliance Office to come up to see if we're able to share the RFP proposals, or RFQ actually, with you. I'm not sure some of the rules. Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Cleary.
Robert Cleary, Chief Procurement and Compliance Officer. So
I'm just looking for the routine, we routinely get information when there's an RFP out, and we routinely get a summation of the other bids that come in so that we can determine whether we're really getting the best deal. That's the information I'm looking for. I'm looking for the responses from the other carriers and what their costs were and what their benefits that they were providing at their price points.
well, we have the responses, and those would be available for review. We have a narrative for the award.
But I asked for those I asked for those last week, so I don't know why I don't have them. I asked for them when we were here last week.
That was not my recollection. I recall the questions about, I was particularly focused, personally, I was particularly focused on the questions about the vendor's response to the DFS report. I did not recall the issue of requesting the responses to the solicitation.
I requested the responses to the solicitation, and I also requested if we could get information from other municipalities regarding what plans they were using and what was, some of the costs associated with those plans.
Yes, I'm not.
They're saying that they couldn't do that part-timely, and that's not necessary for me and, to make a decision. But I think having information regarding the other submissions and the offerings and the costs associated with those is appropriate, because we get those on just about every other solicitation that goes out.
Hello. I can probably get that information together for you. It's just going to take it's going to take a few hours, but I can provide that to you.
Presiding officer, were we anticipated to come back? Because I know you put us in recess.
No, that was full legislation.
I know, but I mean,
yeah.
if
No,
we,
we're not coming back
coming
today.
in, rules could...
We're not coming back today.
So I'm kind of in a, I'm in a quandary here, because I think this is routinely provided, and we should have had it. And for us to be put in a position to vote on something without having the opportunity to look at what the other providers submitted along with their responses to our solicitation, I think puts us in a bad position.
I understand a presentation was made to the various unions as to what, whoever replied to the RFP. Do you have a copy of that presentation or the information the unions were given before they made the decision?
We had representatives of the unions on the committee, on the selection committee. So that's where the presentation was, and yes, absolutely, we have those.
Did that include like any type of maybe not so much cost discussion, but coverage discussion comparison?
Well, each insurer presented what they were offering. There wasn't a comparison between insurers. But we ourselves, the committee, made comparisons.
Well, was that done in writing?
Yes.
Okay, so like that would really be all that we need, just to take a look at that information that was provided. If that's, well, I mean, that would be a good first step, just to at least have that information. Do you have that readily available?
I would have to go back to my office and look for that.
I think this is a response to an RFQ or an RFP. I don't believe we usually go through the other submissions of the entities that responded. Number one. Number two, the committee that looked at this.
They usually give us, excuse me, presiding officer, they usually give us a chart, and then we look at what the other costs. We look at every bid that comes in, and that's why even sometimes I'll question, because sometimes they don't pick the lowest, most qualified bidder. They always give us a breakdown of the cost of each solicitation by entity.
That's not my recollection, but the other point I was going to make is that this was looked at by a committee that included every representatives of every stakeholder in the county, assisted by a consultant and who determined that this HealthPlex, which is our current provider, is the best of the submissions. So I mean, I think at some point we have to take the recommendation of our county officials, our representatives of all of our employees, of the vendor, of the consultant that we hired to do this. I mean, they're telling us this is the best alternative.
Presiding officer, I could take the recommendation of those entities in the event that I feel that they had the proper information to come to a conclusion. If they can't at this point give me a breakdown of each entity that provided a response and what their proposed costs were and what benefits they were offering, how do we know that? I don't know that they were even given an opportunity to make the most informed decision. You have to be provided that information. And I'd like to provide you, presiding officer, if you will, I'd like to step forward to you and show you how normally we receive that information from each department.
Which item is this?
It's a separate item, but we did it. This is just an example. This is a RFP that went out. We had 5 bids that came in. They listed out the 5 bids. They gave us the costs associated with those bids, and they ranked them, and they gave us the cost contingencies if there are any. So this. It doesn't have to be on the record. I'm just talking to you. Oh.
Can I ask you a question? There's this analysis that was referred to. Why can't somebody in your office just email it over to you right now?
I'm not sure they'd know where to find it, honestly. I'd have to run back and do that. It's the analysis was pretty much prepared by Siegel.
So so I don't get that. I mean, nobody else has access to this information.
Okay.
We live in an age in which I could text it to you off of my phone from an email right now. And you can't get somebody from your office to provide this information to us? I mean, if that's the way it works, that's the way it works. But I mean, it's just contrary to how our society is working right now.
I'll try to do that.
All right. So why don't we can hold off for a few moments. Please do that, and we'll ask Mr. Butler to come up on E-165.
Good afternoon, Joe Butler, Fiscal Officer at Nassau County Clerk Maureen O'Connell's office. I think we had a couple of questions from Legislator Bino last week regarding, I guess, some of the paperwork as it was filled out in the package.
Maybe just go back through the history of this?
Sure. It's an amendment for professional services that changed the term or corrected some of the wording on the term of a professional accounting firm that our office hired to conduct a review for us. Subsequently, that firm was bought out by PKF O'Connor Davies. An assignment was done, and when the disclosure forms were to be completed, it was by this new firm, PKF O'Connor Davies, and they indicated on one of their principal questionnaires, answering question 11, that there had been somebody who was a former partner was involved in a criminal investigation, but it was disclosed on this form. It was the company that purchased the form that we had selected, and it states on the first sentence of that form that this individual is a former partner of PKF O'Connor Davies, and they don't work there anymore. So that was the first item.
Right, and so we're not, what are we doing today with this item? We're amending the contract?
We're amending the term of the contract. So that was the second question I think legislator had regarding the term or how it is essentially being backdated.
Right.
We had a funding issue in the department where we needed to do a board transfer that took some time to post, and then we kind of got towards the end of the year, the final quarter, and I don't believe that what we needed to do to encumber the money happened by the end of the year, so we had to wait for the new allotment to come in the subsequent year, and then by the time everything got posted, it was, I believe, April that the county executive had signed off on the original, who had signed off on this, and there was a total of 246 days between when, I guess, the company had signed off on it to when the county executive signed off on it. And some of that has to do with funding, but another of it has to do with the specific wording that was used that really wasn't as clear as it needed to be. On a going forward basis at our department, we always use beginning dates and ending dates, but in this iteration of this contract, we used effective date, okay? And the effective date is when the county executive signs off on it, so it put us in a bind.
So with the issue with the former partner, this is a contract that we had already approved several years ago with AVZ.
Yep.
And then subsequently changed into another entity.
Yes.
All right. So then we're not here today approving a contract with them. We're simply amending the term of that contract.
Yes.
To reflect work that they've already done.
Yes, from a company that they purchased and merged into their entity.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on this contract?
Do you happen to have any idea throughout this process, has there been any controls put in place with the Comptroller's Office to prevent this type of thing from happening again?
Anything in place? I mean, the Comptroller's Office, I guess, noticed that the way that the term of the contract was worded wasn't sufficient, which triggered the need to get an amendment done. But, you know, the Comptroller's Office doesn't set contract term wording. However, in general, we do work with them in putting certain contract data together, and we do that and have done that on a pretty regular and consistent basis.
Well, the vendor themselves, is there anything that you can assure us that they will, this wouldn't happen again? That they've changed to prevent this from happening again?
In what regard? And the fact that they had a former partner that disclosed...
To avoid the fraud that occurred, is there anything put in place to prevent that from happening again with this contract?
I mean, this is it, but, you know, once the work of this contract is completed, it'll be complete and done. We have changed the templates in our office to reflect always beginning and end dates, so it wouldn't happen again. And in terms of the disclosure forms, I guess they're doing what their intended purpose is, which is to kind of flesh out situations like this. And to give the firm some credit, I mean, he's not a partner anymore.
Was he a partner of this iteration of the firm, the one that we're dealing with today, or the prior, or neither?
From the way that this is worded, I believe that he worked at PKF at some point, but is no longer with them as of the day that they're filling out these forms, you know, as the merged entity with AVZ for this amendment.
Okay, so we retain AVZ, and at some point they got merged into PKF, and one of PKF's former partners had engaged in activity that was cited by the Securities and Exchange Committee and various penalties, et cetera.
Yep.
Are they still doing any work, PKF, for us, or have they completed their work?
No, I believe they do work for several departments.
No, I mean with the clerk, under this particular contract.
We have nothing outstanding after this, and the only reason why we're involved with them at all is because they purchased ABZs.
Well, but I mean, the question is, are they still doing work for the clerk's office?
Currently, no.
All right, so this is for paying for work that was already done
Yes,
by a predecessor firm.
yes.
Okay.
A merged former entity.
Okay. Well, we still have to get an answer on the healthplex. So why don't we do this? E151. Thank you, Mr. Butler. E151 and E165, which is the two items excluding the healthplex item. Any debate or discussion among the legislators on these two items? Any public comment?
First, I wanted to acknowledge Legislator Bino and appreciate your ongoing vigilance with regard to fiscal management for the county. It's more important that we get the answers up front, as I said, before we find out about it in those rare Newsday investigative passages that they have. My concern, and I'm glad again that others had that concern with regard to hearing about payments going to firms that had individuals, high-ranking individuals within those firms that were or were not involved in some criminal activity. It makes me question what actually is the vetting process with regard to these contracting opportunities, one, and two, when we talk about this procurement and compliance and the compliance scheme, I think we should kind of change the wording, the connection between compliance and scheme. Scheme may be something that works in Great Britain, but that word, the connotation of scheme, does not work well, and it should not be used, I would guess, in government. But the procurement component still concerns me, that we're spending and expending these funds to companies that we're building long-term relationships, which again provides barriers to entry for minority women, veteran, and disabled businesses. I have yet again to hear where we are with regard to state and federal requirements for inclusion, for diversity, equity, as well as inclusion of minority, women, veteran businesses. I still have yet to receive any information with regard to the impact on the New York State disparity study that was put out a number of years ago, and was to what the action plan was for Nassau County and the results of that action plan to increase the ongoing exclusivity, and let's just say the non-utilization of minority women, veteran, and disabled businesses. I mean, again, I know this is not the question and answer, and people just want to hear me wax poetically, but I still would like to know, where are those reforms? Where are those results as it pertains to that type of contracting? And have we stepped up our vetting process to ask the question, has or had someone within this firm, company, organization, entity, or family-owned business had or previously been convicted of, indicted with some type of crime? Where, again, is the review process? Again, that's one question as far as the accountability and, again, the inclusion. We make ourselves vulnerable to ongoing lawsuits in this county as it pertains to this type of lack of inclusion and the ongoing disparity, and we wonder why communities of color continue to be frustrated because they continue to be left out of the mix. We do a lot of discussing, okay, and you do a lot of the presentations during the specific months of the year that are designated, but we're talking about 365. People of color have been, will be, and continue to be positive contributors to the society in which we all live and work. So if somebody somewhere could give me some kind of answer, some kind of rationale, a report or something, then I would not have to keep coming here asking these questions, and I can get back to doing what I need to do for the people out here who have the needs and are trying to stay in this county but are leaving in droves. Thank you.
Mr. McKenna?
Kevin McKenna, Nassau County resident. I hadn't planned on speaking about this, but listening to what has just taken place, and I also want to compliment Legislator Sheila Bonneau, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, for the questions that you have asked that need to be asked a heck of a lot more here in Nassau County. I could see how perplexed you had the people on the recipient end of your question. But as it pertains to what Ms. Holliday, am I saying that right? Meriday, I'm sorry. Following up on what she just said, I recently became aware of the fact that Nassau County, and maybe you don't even know this, legislators, I just recently became aware of the fact that we're paying a Inspector General. Did you know that? We have an Inspector General who actually has been watching on the live stream up here. Her name is Jody Francais, and I have some information into her right now on other matters. But I would like to know, and I'm sure the public would like to know, on these bids, on these procurements, does the Inspector General, and I'd like to ask this to Legislator Bonneau, maybe you know the answer, does the Inspector General have to sign off on bids? Something maybe we might want to find out the answer to, because we're paying an Inspector General here in Nassau County, and quite frankly, I don't know what that individual does. Do you? Thank you very much.
The Inspector General not only looks at each contract that's submitted to the county, but also the Inspector General sits on most of the committees that make the determination. So the Inspector General is intimately involved in the contracting process. Any other public comment? All right, I'm just gonna go on a holding pattern now until we get responses with respect to the health tax item.
Is anyone? Does anyone there hear me? Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't hear anything. It just stopped hearing anything. Okay, fine. Okay, no problem then. Sorry. Yeah. Yep.
All right, we're back in session. Would you come on back up?
Hello.
Greetings. So I appreciate you providing us with the documentation and the side-by-side basic comparison of the responses from the various providers, and then providing some supplemental information in so much that two were disqualified for two different reasons, right? One for credit issues and the other because they didn't adhere to the price point. That being said, I believe that you stated that there were 3 in the running, correct?
Yes, 3 finalists.
3 finalists in the running. Okay, I don't have any additional questions for you. I'll just state on the motion for the vote. I just want to confirm that and have it on record. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you getting that information for us. We're going to call 2 of the items, and then we'll call the health flex item. So 156 of 2021 and 165 of 2021. Those items are before the committee, and I'm going to call for a vote at this point. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those items carry unanimously. So let's go to 168, which is the health flex item. I'm going to call for a vote at this time on that item as well. So all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions?
On the motion, I'm going to abstain from this vote. Based on the comparisons that we received and the quick analysis of it, it appears that Empire PPO on the outer network, on the scheduled plan, was paying 50% of coinsurance, while HealthPlex was paying a specific dollar amount in reimbursement. And without knowing exactly what the price point was for the 50% coinsurance payment, I'm not sure whether that would be higher repayment or reimbursement to the dentist, resulting in a lower out-of-pocket expense for our employees. Therefore, on this motion, I will be abstaining.
Thank you. So then, by my count, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's 6 votes for, 1 abstention, so the item passes. Motion to adjourn. Where's Legislator Rhodes? Legislator Rhodes makes a motion to adjourn, seconded by Legislator Reggie Whitten. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Aye.